Hello everyone, welcome to the GeoEcologist. I am Dr. Krishnanand and you have been watching my videos on various topics of geography, environment and research methodology on my channel, The GeoEcologist. So if you are new to this channel, consider subscribing our channel and also please go to the playlist section to look into the older videos. Now in today's session on regional geography, we are going to learn about the concept of development and underdevelopment, the debate related to these two topics which have been part of various subjects like economics, regional planning and development in geography and several other disciplines as well. So let's clarify that what is this debate about and also various conceptualizations through time that have taken place with development concept and also the changing concept of this development and underdevelopment in today's world. So before we go ahead, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and to share the videos with others as well. So now let's learn about these topics of changing concept of development and underdevelopment. So let's begin by the word development itself. So what does it mean and how do we conceptualize it? So the concept of development simply refers to the structural changes towards betterment. Now when we say structural changes means what? Where do we do the structural changes? So in various dimensions of human life. For example, economic dimension, social dimension, geographical dimension, and several others. So when we say these words are intertwined, interconnected, it means we are looking towards a betterment. We are moving towards a better life. That's what development simply means. Now, if you go further, there are three core values of development. Mostly you will see that in sociology, economics, and geography as well, that these three core values are talked about everywhere. So life sustenance is the first value. Remember, sustainability of life, continuity of life being a basic ecological principle as well. So life sustaining basic human needs, in Hindi we say roti, kapda or makan, isn't it? And now we add technology to it, or some people also say mobile phone to it, right? Internet to it. So basic human needs, that is food, shelter, health and protection, right? These are the basic components of our sustainability, sustenance. And also if there is absence or acute shortage of these basic amenities in our life, then we are in the condition of underdevelopment, and that is the flip side of development, isn't it? So the second is self-esteem. Now remember, this is a universal component of development, that a person should feel good about himself or herself, right? So self-esteem is a sense of worth, right? You feel worthy of living that particular life. If you're not feeling sense of worthiness in your life, it means you are poor in that condition. You are underdeveloped in that condition. So self-respect and worthiness are two components of this particular development concept that we say that as a core value of development. Then freedom is definitely the third and most important pillar. So freedom means basically the power or right to act, speak, or to think the way one wants to. So these core values of development is around which we build our conceptualizations, and we look into the patterns, the geographical patterns of space, right? And then we look into that how there is a divide, how there is an imbalance, is there a disparity? So we have talked in previous lectures as well. If you have not watched, do go to the playlist on regional geography and watch the lectures. So you observe this divide. In every big metro city, especially in India, you will find this divide. So these slum housing and skyscrapers, very commonly available in new age metropolis. So new age development is creating these divides that you see between development and underdevelopment. So let's understand that how this changing concept is prevalent in last 50-70 years since the World War II. So if you observe, this particular map is very common. You'll find that this is the way the world has been represented by United Nations in the forms of various levels of development. So advanced economies, all blue color, deeper blue or purple. Then you find this transition, the lighter shade. Then less developed is this one. And then the red is the least developed countries of the world. That's how United Nations gives us a picture, but this is more of an economic development picture, not the overall development picture. So if you remember the World Development Report, WDR, it says low income countries, middle income countries and high income countries, and this is put on the map as well. Now mostly income or per capita income and GDP is taken as the major indicator of development across the world. But is it so? Is it the only indicator, or is it the most qualified indicator? Let's look into it. So the story begins with this Truman Doctrine that came in 1945 and post-UN formation, where Harry S. Truman, the president of US, established that United States would provide political, military and economic assistance to the democratic powers across the world if they are feeling threatened from some external power. And in case, why they would like to be like America? Because America is developing like they have been since last 100 and 200 years. So according to Truman's vision, it was a change in the worldview that had taken place, allowing the concept of development to rise to a standard of universal rule, and people should follow the footsteps of American development. So this was one of the pitches that changed the world altogether. So now you see the neo-imperialism concepts coming in, American dominance in art, in culture, in language, right? So what you observe here is that majorly the economic imperialism, the economic neo-imperialism came to the picture. So whenever we say development, everybody starts talking about how much do you earn, isn't it? It's about money, it's about income, it's about economics of exchange of goods and services. So economic development becomes one of the first parameters or pillars of development. So many economists have given theories, and remember some economists have used the concepts of economic growth and development interchangeably mainly. So you'll find that there is not much of parity between the viewpoints, but economic growth simply refers to rise in per capita income while also fall in income. But while economic development is a overall rise in income and changes in economic and social structure alongside. So it's a broader concept, right? Then what we observe further, that economic growth and economic development refer to quantitative and qualitative aspects of development, and this topic we have also dealt in earlier lectures as well in economic geography. So what you observe is that the themes of economic development, as pointed out by various economists, move around two central issues in the world. Remember, two major issues for economists. One is capital formation and the second is technical progress, right? That's where the entire concepts are built around. So then it leads to further development and is linked to political and social developments, right? So there is a shifting emphasis on political development, and then you see left wing, right wing, centrist, leftist approach, rightist approach, and all those things that you see in the world around. Then what you will find is the political development associated with economic approach. So here, high positive relationship between socio-economic development and democratic political development you will find in the world. This is a picture which is intertwined. Then what you observe is the social development, which is a process which can be only explained through various value systems and the ideas of economics and political development across the world, across India, right? So these are the major works that you observe around the world. So what you observe is that some scientists, some scholars have enumerated the contents of development under various categories. What are these categories of development? Look here: nutrition, shelter, health, education, leisure and recreation. Then you have security, opulence level. While others also put it under different categories like output and income, conditions of production, then levels of living, attitude towards life and work, very important in certain countries, and institutions and policies. So this is the entire overall picture of development across the world, and various words and phrases used to denote development of various kinds, right? So what we observe, that economic development on one side and human and social development on other side, this mainly is the divide in viewpoints you will see across the world. But if you see overall picture, ecology, society and economy overlap to give us the overall picture of development, and quality of life, ecological sustainability and equity becomes the major pillars of the word called development, and that is sustainable development that we are talking about. Agenda 2030, SDGs we have talked about in environmental geography as well. So what you observe, the flip side of it. Now let's talk about underdevelopment. Why everybody wants to talk about development? Because nobody wants to talk about the flip side, the underdevelopment, which is the second side of the same coin if you observe carefully. So the term underdevelopment refers to that state of economy where levels of living of masses are extremely in poor conditions, in low levels, right? For example, per capita income, low levels of productivity, high growth rate of population. So in general, the quality of life is very poor in those places. That's why they are called underdeveloped. Right. So what you observe, the origin of this underdevelopment theory came parallel to the developmental theories in 1950s and 60s. So if you observe, the theories of 19th century of Marxism was revised and revived in 1960s by radical geographers and others. And then you will observe the anti-developmental school of Latin America flourishing at the same time, talking about different modes of development, right? Alternative development. So these schools of thought started coming up saying that underdevelopment is the other side of development that you see and that you're leaving, that you're not talking about. So what you observe is the realization that traditional theories of development have not succeeded in resolving major issues of the world. Do you see that? Poverty, hunger, health, all these issues are there and have been there. So what it means is that these theories have been there, but they did not provide a concrete solution. So the next part was the anti-developmentalists. They came along and they debated this, that the way you are talking about development is not the overall development. It's leaving its problems aside. Isn't it? So what we observe is explanations of underdevelopment became focal point of this particular thinking. And look at these scholars, how they looked into this. So Andre Gunder Frank, if you observe him, German-American sociologist and economic historian, he talks about the world systems theory post 1984 and also the dependency theory post 1970s. And remember, Frank talked about this in his book Capitalism and Underdevelopment in Latin America, right? So this is where the alternative development, anti-developmental school comes into the picture, and he substantiates his argument stating that economic development and underdevelopment are opposite faces of the same coin. If you are progressing too much and laying emphasis on too much of capitalism, economic development, but then what will happen is the flip side, underdevelopment will automatically be part of the same system. So when you observe it, this is the notion of development and underdevelopment based on the concept of exploitation, right? Exploitation, over-exploitation, and also who controls the factors of production. So what is factor of production? Remember, we talked about in economic geography, land, labor, capital, technology, and all those things. So remember, access to resources is controlled by few people. It would definitely lead to disparity and imbalance. So exploitation was the common thought process in South American school of anti-developmentalist thought, alternative development scholarship. So what you observe, the next scholar, the very famous Gunnar Myrdal, again comes to the picture. So he says that the process of moving away from underdevelopment, and it characterizes underdeveloped country as one where, what is there? There is a constellation of numerous undesirable conditions in work and life. Then you have levels of living and modes of production, attitude towards life and behavioral patterns. So everything you will find going on downtrend in underdeveloped regions of the world, right? And that's where he talked about spread effect and backwash effect as a common characteristics of such regions, where one city, one major economy develops first and then it backwashing in the areas. And remember, trickle down effect by Professor Hirschman. So that comes into the picture then. So what you observe, that this changing dynamics since last 50-70 years have taken place, and now it is clearly evident that dimensions of human development ought to be learned, not just development, right? That is where from development and underdevelopment, now we are talking more about sustainable development, human development, right? Which are overlapping concepts. So knowledge, right? Then standard of living, then you have the equality, social justice, human security, environmental sustainability in picture, participation, long and healthy life. All these things put together are the major dimensions of overall human development, right? So that's what we're talking about, that with passage of time, concept and meaning of these development has witnessed a change. In what way? In its positionality, in theories, in ideological shifts, right? So what you observe carefully, that human development is having a new definition, a new picture that we say, which is basically a very broad definition. It incorporates a lot of things together, right? So it means that we are talking about not just the process, right? Not just the end separately, but means and end together, not just end, that what is the resultant. Then what we observe is that it protects life opportunities of present and future generation. Remember, intergenerational equity, intra-generational equity, and all those principles laid down in Rio in 1992, and creates an atmosphere in which people can expand their capabilities and opportunities, which we always say optimum utilization, isn't it? That system in which everybody lives to his, her best. That is where we are trying to move into. But there are a lot of challenges that we see. So that's where the regional development concept and theories lie, that we are trying to assess, look into the spatial patterns, and what are the factors associated to it, and what are the measures of development and underdevelopment. All these things we talk about in regional development concepts. So now, when we have discussed in details about the changing concept of development, underdevelopment, and its various dimensions, in the sessions to come, we'll be talking more on other aspects of regional development and geography. So stay tuned, stay safe, keep watching and learning, and if you have not subscribed, do subscribe to our channel and do press the like button on the videos. So all the best wishes, take care.